Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Black Empowerment Hub podcast. I'm your host, JacquelineL.Malone, CEO of Blind Resistance Clothing Brand, where our tagline for the culture by the culture represents our commitment to empowerment, sustainability, and uplifting underserved Black communities. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay updated on future episodes. Today on the Black Empowerment Hub podcast, we're joined by the visionary behind the Black Women's Expo, Mary Green. She's in the studio, and we're excited to dive into her incredible 30-year journey of empowering Black women and communities right after this short message.
This episode is brought to you by the Support Black Excellence Foundation and their Support Excellence Initiative. At the Support Black Excellence Foundation, we're on a mission to foster a brighter future for all, particularly in underserved Black communities. Through strategic partnerships, mentorship programs, community service projects, and financial initiatives, we are committed to driving meaningful change where it's needed most. We invite you to join us in this remarkable journey of progress and transformation. Together, we can turn our vision into a reality. Let's shape a future that is equitable and inclusive, where empowerment, elevation, and excellence intersect to create a legacy of positive change. Thank you to the Support Black Excellence Foundation and their Support Excellence Initiative for sponsoring this podcast.
Welcome back to the Black Empowerment Hub podcast. Today, we are thrilled to introduce a true trailblazer and visionary, Mary Green. As the president and CEO of MGPG Events, Inc., Mary has dedicated her career to creating platforms that empower, celebrate, and uplift Black communities. She is best known as the creative genius behind the Black Women's Expo, a groundbreaking event that has been a beacon of Black culture, business, and womanhood for 30 incredible years. Mary's remarkable journey began in media, where she quickly established herself as a pioneer in promotions and event planning. Her legacy includes iconic initiatives like the world's largest steppers competition and her unwavering commitment to fostering spaces for empowerment and economic growth. Beyond her professional accolades, Mary's work is deeply rooted in community engagement and inspiring the next generation of leaders. Her story is one of resilience, innovation, and an enduring dedication to making a difference. We are honored to have her join us today to share her story, insights, and vision for the future. Welcome, the beautifully stunning Mary Green.
Wow, thank you. How are you?
You're welcome. I'm good. And I'm so glad to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Let's start with a fun one. If you could host a dream gala with any historical Black figure as the keynote speaker, who would it be and what would you hope the audience takes away from their speech?
I thought about that, and I probably people would think I would say a woman, but I would say Barack Obama. And I would hope that people would walk away with the fact, his motto was yes, we can. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, many of us in my age group never thought we would ever see an African American president, and we did. And I remember that night I thought I was going to pass out when he won. So it would definitely be him, and I want people to walk away with, you can be what you want to be.
Yes, and I agree. I was actually there in Grant Park the night he won the first presidency, and it was just an amazing
I
event. I
know.
still have the ticket in the
Oh,
frame. I have
I
that
was
frame.
across the street at
Were
the Hilton
you?
Hotel, where
Oh,
everyone was in the ballroom and we were watching from the windows. And so, people were picking us up and throwing us across the room when he won. We couldn't believe it. So, yeah, that would touch my heart, and I think it would touch so many.
yeah, you're absolutely right on that one. So, Mary, you've had such an impactful career in event planning and media. How did your journey in the industry begin, and what drove you to pursue a career that empowers people through events?
Wow, I mean, 30 years with the Black Women's Expo, but it started in television and radio back in my hometown in Rochester, New York, which is actually where I grew up. My hometown, my family were born in Nashville, Tennessee, but we moved to Rochester when I was just a tiny little kid. And it was through working in a huge community organization that we started to fight the media, the local media, television and radio, because there were no blacks in front of the camera. They were behind the scenes. But my boss at that time became the president of the National Black Community Coalition in D.C., out of Washington, D.C. And we started to, file against those stations that would not hire blacks, African Americans at that time. And quickly after we did that, they needed to hire somebody. They needed to quiet our organization down. And they hired me, taught me television, worked for PM Magazine, which was, a magazine show. And I had my own public affairs television show, a weekly show. And so it was through that I got into the business of media. And from there, I was offered a job here in Chicago at NBC. And that's how I came to Chicago.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And transitioning from WKOR TV in Rochester to NBC5 Chicago and then V103 as promotions and marketing director must have been quite a journey. So, can you share some challenges you faced during the transition and how they influenced professional growth?
Well, there was some, when you think about it, it was not anything that I thought would happen. I worked in, I was, part of a media organization, community organization that was fighting the media. And then all of a sudden I'm a part of it. So it was not anything that I probably ever thought would happen. So I started in television and, which is not usually the route of the journey. You start in radio and then you get into television. So I started in television, was asked to come to Chicago, work for NBC and television. And then I got into radio when B103 became a reality. But so there were so many things in transition. When I got to Chicago, I moved my entire family, had three sons, and I was only employed for about a year and a half as they started to let so many people at the station go at that time. And, by the grace of God, I met some people with Ebony Jet Showcase, and I became one of the producers of that show. And before I knew it, I was meeting the people who had just purchased B103 radio, and that is how I got to B103. I actually took them an idea for their coming out party because B103 had just changed from WBMX radio here in the city. And I took them an idea for a coming out party. So they wanted to do something to introduce themselves to the market. And I knew about stepping, not that I could step, but I knew about it. And it was quick to think of a stepping out party. And that's exactly what I proposed, and that's exactly what we did. And after I took that idea, he looked at me and he said, "Have you ever thought about working in radio?" And the next thing I know, I had the job as the promotion and marketing director of B103.
Wow.
No.
That's really incredible. Wow.
Wow.
And that's a great transition too
Yes.
about the steppers competition because wanted to actually ask you about that. So what inspired you to come up with such a massive idea and how did it evolve from just a promotional event to a
Right.
cultural phenomenon? And
Well,
I was looking at it last night and I actually looked at the very first, it's on YouTube if you don't know that.
I
It's
do.
on
It's everywhere.
YouTube, the very
It's
first
everywhere.
competition.
Is it the
Yes,
very first? Now, I haven't seen the very
the
first
very first.
in a long
Yes.
time. Oh my God.
It's real grainy. It's real
But
grainy,
it's
but
there.
it's on there.
But it's there. Um, you know, it- just talking to friends and knowing how big stepping was in this city. As they say it, the steppers, the real steppers, it's a way of life. It's not just a dance. And they didn't have any real huge competitions. And having the radio station behind the world's largest, having Anheuser-Busch as a sponsor, it just became bigger than life. And before we knew it, we had gotten so large that we were at McCormick Place. We had gone through all of the hotel ballrooms, and just it wasn't big enough. The last event I did, I think we had 5,000 attendees. We had, a dance floor in the round raised. We had big artists like the OJs. And so it just became an event that Anheuser-Busch loved. Many other sponsors came on board. But it's a part of Chicago. So it was no brainer for them to get involved and to compete. We would have, 50 couples when we got to the finals, and we would do about 4 semifinals around local bars and restaurants in Chicago. But it was part of the culture here. Even though I didn't step, I learned after a while. I learned through the process.
I know I'm not a stepper either, but it's still fun. Like I try to do it if I'm with someone who just, wants to like have fun real quick, and then I'll do it.
Right.
But and that prize money was real enticing too because I saw it was $10,000
We gave
for
really good prize money, trips, all kinds of
wow.
things to the winners. So it was real enticing for people to get involved. And they wanted to. They really the money was a big deal, but it was really about bragging rights. I won the world's largest steppers cup. They wanted to walk around and say I am the best in the city. And it got so good that we had to come up with different categories. So we are the ones that came up with the original, the freestyle, because there were younger people that was just dancing all over the place. And Casper, I'll never forget when Casper, bless his heart, puts skates on the stage and starts skating during his competition. And of course, he won. But we had to come up with a different category, and that's when we came up with freestyle, which means you can use any kind of props you wanted. And then people will dance threesomes. There will be 3 people dancing. It could be 2 guys and a girl. It could be 3 guys. It could be 3 girls. And then we had to include a threesome competition. So it just kept going and kept building and still going on today.
You see those steppers out there and how they move, like the
All
ones
right.
that are truly serious about it. Good deal there. So, founding MGPG Events Inc. marked a significant milestone in your career. Was there a defining moment that led you to create MGPG Events, and what were some of the initial challenges you faced along the way?
Well, I never thought about going into business for myself, I'll be honest with you. But everything that I was doing at B103 was becoming too big for the radio station. So whether it was the world's largest steppers competition or the Black Women's Expo, which was at that time called an Expo for Today's Black Woman, that I proposed to the station, let me do this. I had seen something similar in Atlanta, and I said, I think we need to do that here in Chicago. And when we proposed the idea to the advertisers, which became our sponsors, they loved the idea. So um, that became too big. And I was asked 2 years into it by the leaders of the radio station, would I take this show on the outside and produce it on the outside? And I did. I moved 2 blocks down the street, took my staff with me, and we began to produce not only continued to produce the world's largest steppers, but we started producing the Black Women's Expo, the Expo for the Black Woman on the outside. And at the same time, I was still doing my job at B103 as promotion and marketing director. So it's pretty hectic during that time until they found my replacement. But we continued to do the expo until a couple years later, the general manager at that time said, "This is your show. Nobody knows anything about B103. I'm going to give you this show," and that's when we took it on as our owner, as an owner of it, and we changed the name to what people call it. So back then, even though it was called an Expo for Today's Black Woman, that was way too much, too long of a title. But what everyone said was, "You do that Black Women's Expo, don't you?" And so when I became owner of it, full outright owner, that's what we changed the name to, is the Black Women's Expo.
And, celebrating the 30th anniversary now of the Black Women's Expo is a testament to its enduring impact.
Yes.
Uh, and before I go into additional questions about the expo, I just want to take a moment to ask you, like, how do you feel to hear that it's now been 30 years that you've had the expo, like you've accomplished something so grand? I mean, you have the steppers competition too, but now you have the Black Women's Expo. So how does that make you feel to know that, to hear that?
You know what? I have a lot of friends and colleagues that would ask me that period or think that I would think a lot about it, and I really don't. I mean, I am aware of what we created. I'm aware of the impact it has made to the city of Chicago. I'm aware of the impact it has done for small businesses, Black women business owners. I'm aware of all of that, but I truly don't walk around with it, uh, how can I say it? I'm not promoting myself. I think most of even some of my contractors say, will you please step out front for a while? Because I'm behind the scenes. We work very hard to make sure it's the best it can be. Um, Not a year goes by that we're not trying to take it to another level. A couple of years ago, we changed it to Be We. It's still Black Women's Expo, still the initials, but people say Be We. A couple of years after that, and it was BWeNEXT because we were going to the next level. So I just think that I know how it affects this community, and so many people want to be a part of it. We keep it affordable, whether it's through the ticket prices or through the exhibitor booth prices. We keep it affordable. We have half price sales every year because we want people to be a part of it. That was the whole mission of the expo from the beginning, is to be able to make it a platform for women to be able to showcase their businesses, their services, their products, and we continue to do that. So, I know it's made an impact in this city and among all of our business owners in the Black community, but that's where it stays.
Yeah. And looking back, what standout moments or milestones
Wow.
have defined the Expo's legacy? I know it's been so many to name, but you
Yeah,
could name a one or two.
there's been so many. I mean, I think from the very second year when we wanted to do the Phenomenal Woman Awards, and we started a gala that we would recognize 10 local women and one national woman at that time, who have done phenomenal things within their communities. And the very first year, we, of course, named it after Maya Angelou's poem, iconic poem. Um, and we invited her to be the keynote, and she actually accepted. And the night before she came, the night before the dinner, she became ill, and we got a call that morning from her people saying that she would not be coming. Well, the tickets were sold out. The gala was done. It was like, what do you mean she's not coming? And they were trying to give us another speaker to take her place. And we knew, and I've always had an advisory committee of women, knew that the only person that could replace her would be Oprah. And they were very good friends. And one of my board members, one of my committee members, called Harpo Studios and found out she was in town. And before you knew it, that night we kept it a surprise. And when we were at the gala and these 1,000 women were sitting there waiting for Maya Angelou to come out, we announced that she would not be coming. But we have something else for you, women's side. They were so sad about that. And Oprah walked out the back of the kitchen of that hotel, and the place went. Right now, I'm getting goosebumps. The place went wild because it was hard to get over. It was hard, but she was going to assist her friend Maya Angelou and come, and she did, and she did her poem, and it was just incredible. It was incredible. And I will never forget that. That's one of the big moments. Of course, Winnie Mandela. We decided one year we're going to get Winnie Mandela. Who decides that? To bring her from South Africa, and it was a lot of work to get her here. A lot of work to get her permission to leave, to get her flights and the whole bit. But we got her and brought her here, and I'm so glad that we did. Uh, who would have thought that I would ever meet her? So there's so many uh, things that have just been incredible during these 30 years. I've got some new people, younger people that work for me, and they look at the list of speakers and entertainers. They said, you had her? You had Cicely Tyson? Yes. You had Debbie Allen? Yes. You had Maya Angelou? Yes. I mean, when they go down the list, they're like, you're kidding me. And I'm like, no, I'm not. They have been at the expo. It's been 30 years, so it's a lot of time. I would have never thought, I'm going to be honest with you, that the show would last as long as it has. And now we don't know how to
Wow.
stop.
Exactly, because it's still going strong. It's
It's
not
still going strong.
any end in sight.
No, it's still going strong.
I think it has a life of its own, like the Steppers competition.
It does.
And yeah, I think it does. Like it will just live on for
Oh yeah.
generation after generation. It's really spectacular to think about it that way because it really is a phenomenon. So let's continue on that celebrity route.
Okay.
So you've mentioned some really heavy hitters there, and you've had notable figures like Vanessa Williams as well. You've had Robin Thicke, last year Jennifer Lewis, Angie Stone. So, what or how do you approach building meaningful partnerships with celebrities? And what valuable lessons have you gained from those collaborations?
Wow. Well, I mean, it takes a lot of, we do a lot of brainstorming, which we've already started a couple months ago, even for this year's event, which is in 10 months, on what is appropriate for what is going on in the times, what we're dealing with right now. Who makes it, who makes sense to try to invite. We can't get everybody. I mean, some people we definitely cannot afford. Some people we just cannot bring to this kind of event. Um, but we definitely, research it, work with sometimes some of the speakers bureaus, or we have our own contacts, or we work through our media partners. So there are many different ways that we do it. I wouldn't say that we necessarily create partnerships, maybe with the speakers and their staff, but there are some of them though that remember that they've been at the show. We've seen them other places. They remember the Black Women's Expo. They remember such a wonderful time that they had. So um, I think you asked me what were some of the hurdles.
Yeah, just how do you get those collaborations or nurture those
Yeah.
collaborations?
Yeah. Well, one of them is believing that you can get.
Yeah,
I never think that, okay, if I've had Oprah and I've had Maya and we've had Nikki Giovanni who just passed and we've had, Maxine Waters and we've had those names. There's nobody. Even Barack came through before he became president. He was at the expo once, and we have pictures of that. So you got to believe that you can, that you can get almost anybody at least attempt. And so we don't suffer from that. That we're not big enough. We finally realized a couple of years ago that we're the next best show to Essence. And, I'm not saying we're Essence Festival. I mean, they have a magazine. They're big, but we're around the same years. They just turned 30. We started around the same time, and what we're both doing, I think, is similar. But can I get Beyonce? I don't know. I might.
you
Right,
might be able to get it.
but we are the next best thing. I mean, there isn't a show that's been around as long, has a track record that we have the good track record. I mean, our sponsors come back year and year and year again. They are repeat. Um, we give them exactly what we said we're going to give them. So that's one of the things that I tell anybody that's attempting to do what we do, is that you have to deliver on what you are offering your clients. If you stumble, if you say I'm going to give you 20 radio spots and they don't get them, they're not coming back next year. So we do a lot of work. We work hard. We're in the office late, in the weeks and months leading up to the expo, so that we can get all of those things in place.
That's what I was going to ask you about too, how you approach that planning process, um, and to resonate with the attendees and reflect on like cultural and even the social landscape, because you think about how life keeps evolving and
Yeah.
changing, right?
Yeah.
So how do you plan for that in also choosing and selecting specific guests? Last year you had Mothers of the Movement.
Yes. And that's been something that's been on my heart for a long time. I had three sons. I only have two left. So, anytime something happens out there about young men, and you know and and things happen to them, it is something that's real scary to me. You know, I sometimes I even nervous just when my sons call. I'm going to make sure that everything's okay. That's the first question he said. Or they'll say, "Mom, nothing's wrong." Because you don't know what can happen. I mean, we do know what can happen out here. So we do a lot of, like I said, brainstorm, but we also do a survey. of our audience right after the Expo. And we talk about those, we want to know what made sense to you, what you liked, what you didn't like, what we could do better, what you would like to see next year. I mean, we ask those questions. So we don't try to, come up with all of these ideas on our own. Not to mention the organizations, all the not-for-profit organizations and community organizations that are part of the show, that come every year. I mean, they're going to tell us, what they're bringing to the show kind of dictates what it's about. What we've noticed in the last few years is that health is big. Since the pandemic, since coronavirus, health is major. And so many of the organizations, smaller health organizations or pharmaceutical companies or hospitals in the city, were not a part of the Expo before. Now they are. They want to come. They want to talk to our community about our health. I mean, there's a health inequity. We don't get the same kind of treatment. And so they want to come and they want to present and they want women to know where they can get that kind of assistance and help. So that has become huge. I mean, so some of it is dictated by the times, and what we know our community needs.
That is so true. I talk a lot about that equity piece. And I had the president of Malcolm X College on, and we were talking about that with the health piece and
Okay.
how a lot of folks in the Black community don't go to seek medical attention because they're going to folks that don't look like them.
Right.
So it's good that you have touched and put a spotlight on that as
Yeah.
being a piece that we actually need to recognize in our community. And on the podcast, we aim to educate, inform, empower, and inspire change in people and community. The work that you've done with the Association of Black Cardiologists and the City Treasurer's Office in Chicago is so impactful. How do you tailor events like these to not only entertain, but also educate and uplift communities in meaningful ways? Now, you just talked a little bit about that, but how do you move deeper into planning for something like that?
Well, sometimes you have to give people an incentive because we may know we need this, but we may not want to come to something that sounds like it's not going to be fun, that it's not going to be boring. I mean, we've had some sessions at the Expo where we have to go out into the lobby and make sure people know what's going on in this room. You need to be in here. This is about this. Once they, get that encouragement, we can fill a room. But we're not always, happy about let's talk about our health. Some people, squeamish. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to go through that. Same thing with finance, where we need so much help. And that's what the Building Wealth Today for Tomorrow is with the Treasurer's Office, is, educating our community on how to build, the things we can do to build wealth in our family. And so, of course, we've got to bring on some celebrity names or some celebrity entertainers to get people in the room. But once you got them there, then you can fill them up with all the information they need. Sometimes it takes a little encouragement, a little bit more to get people in the room, and we don't have any problem with that. I mean, the Expo has a lot of entertainment, on the main stage, fashion shows, hair shows, dance and musical artists and all of the above. And that may get some people in the Expo, but as they walk to the back to that stage, they're going to go by some booths. They're going to go by some hospitals. They're going to go by some, some of the schools and universities, and they're going to get probably some information that they didn't think they were coming for. So we know we have to do both in order to fill the room.
My nonprofit we're actually putting on our first workshop, which is the financial literacy workshop. And we're so nervous about trying to fill the darn room.
I know. It's going to be difficult. When is
Yeah,
it during the day? Is it doing on Saturday? What
it's
time
on
of day?
Saturday morning, like 10 to
Okay.
12.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like a 3-day, but it's like each Saturday in a row. So we
Okay.
have a public library that we're going to be utilizing. But I was waiting to really ask you that question because like, how does she fill that room? Like, what did she do?
Well, you know what? I also believe in we don't fill every room because there's so much going on at the expo. You can be on the exhibit floor. You could be, at the main stage watching a fashion show. You could be all over the place or in another session. But I always believe that if there are 10 people in that room, those are the 10 people that need to hear this. And so I won't stop doing it just because there's a few people sitting there, because they knew they know that they need that information, and they came into that room. So we need to give it to them. I don't, some people would stop probably doing seminars, doing so many that we do, because maybe, but, we try to do a variety. We do about 40 seminars over the weekend, and sometimes more than that, because it is 3 days. And you could do 10 seminars a day, sessions a day, and you're already up to 30. But we hit on all kinds of issues and topics. And there are people who come forward for those. So I still think it's important to have it.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Personally, thank you for
yeah.
that info.
Yeah, if you only get
I'm
10 people,
nervous.
that's good. 20 people, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right. It's going to be good because I know I'm in God's path for
Yes.
what He wants me to do, and that's bottom line for me. As long as I'm doing that, all is well.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. So your work with events like the South Shore Summer Festival and the Building Wealth Today for Tomorrow Summit highlights your commitment to community engagement. How do you see your events contributing to the empowerment and growth of underserved communities?
Well, definitely. Yeah, I know that for the expo, which is why we keep it affordable. So anyone that thinks they can't afford the expo would be wrong. I mean, we have half price tickets at Walgreens. I mean, you can come to the show for $10. You can't go to the movies for $10 now. you know. So we keep it at a rate, and then we have so many giveaways. Whether the radio station B103 is not giving away tickets, or ABC7 maybe at some times has done that as well, but they're promoting the heck out of it, because we want people to know that you can afford to be there and you should come. Every now and then I run into some people who have never been, and they probably thought they couldn't afford it, or they didn't think it was easier for them to come downtown. We're there for a reason. In McCormick Place, one of the top convention centers in the country, we started there. We weren't going to take it somewhere else. I mean, that's where you do this kind of thing, and we can afford to be there too. And even though it probably was a stretch even then, and sometimes a stretch even now, we make sure that we're in a place where it's going to be comfortable for everybody to be there. The train comes right into McCormick Place. People can afford to be there, and we make sure that we keep it that way. So it's not easy all the time putting it together, the planning, uh, but we know that we have a following, a huge following. I mean, people are contacting us 3 months ago, want to know what the date is for this year of the expo. When can they buy tickets? When can they purchase a booth? So we know we have something that people need.
And just on that ticket price thing, I got so many people to attend last year because that was the first question. How much is it? Like thinking that they can't afford it. But I'm like, hey, go to Walgreens. It's half off.
Yeah.
Tickets are half off. Yeah. And it worked. I mean,
Right.
people flooded Walgreens to go get tickets. So I just thought that part was a really great offering for the community.
Yes.
And, as far as the community is concerned, like you said, there's so many different things at the expo for them to enjoy and to learn and be educated on. So it's not just the stage area that you have, but it
Right.
is really a lot going on within that venue. So I just think it's a really great honor for the community too.
When you said challenges, I probably didn't answer that, but one of the challenges, big challenge that we have every year, is that we are starting to serve the entire community. So, that's millennials and Gen X and Gen Z and everybody, baby boomers, and all of them. And everyone comes to the show. And how do we have some kind of programming that is going to be for each and every one that's there? So we spend a lot of time thinking about that and planning for that, and brainstorming on what sessions we need to have, what kind of speakers we need to bring, that a 20-year-old is going to be excited about seeing, as well as a 50-year-old. Like, everyone was excited to see Jennifer Lewis, but you never know. So, it's part of our research, it's part of our planning, is how do we serve all of the community that comes, and we're never going to turn them away. Some people would say, well, make it younger. No, make it older. No, we're going to make it what it is. It's for everyone.
It is for everyone, and everyone comes. I mean,
Yeah,
so I love. I know you have what was the men's den. I might
yeah.
be saying it wrong, but I think that's
Men's
it.
den,
And then the kids song, men's den, and then
kids corner, men's
yes,
den. Right.
yes, kids corner. Yes. So I mean, you still uh having something for everyone who attends because people are going to bring their families. You don't,
Yes,
even though it's dominated by the woman, you still want to make everyone feel comfortable while they're there. And
yes.
so of course last year my company, we were one of the exhibitors at the expo, which was really great. And I'm going to tell you quickly, and thank you for this, because the experience I had for my first year, it was incredible, Mary.
Thank you.
Incredible, and I'm gonna tell you, I felt I was shocked because I don't normally see this, like, when you go out and then, that you get all this support from the other exhibitors, but they came running to my booth.
Yes.
I had so much support.
Oh,
And
wow.
I mean, it was really incredible. That first day just blew my mind, with that piece, and they all remembered me too from getting up to speak at the vendors meeting that we had, and they were all just congratulating me and about different things that I was doing in the community or even plan to do. But not only that did I network, and I'm actually working with a couple exhibitors today in my nonprofit foundation. So they're going to be teaching some of my classes. They're going to be doing all kind of things. Yes. And then, but not only them, but the customers. I have linked with some of the customers as well and doing business with them, and it's just a wonderful place to network. I've gotten so many things out of that Black Women's Expo,
Wow.
that just really helped my all my businesses, even this podcast. I've had a couple on the podcast,
All right.
folks that I've met. Yeah,
And that's
so
what I like to
I
hear.
wanted to yeah, I wanted to just personally thank you for that because, what you have is, I mean, I'm sure you know, but to understand how you are actually touching the lives of so many people, like it's generations that
I
you're
know.
touching. You're not
I
just,
know.
it's really incredible.
I know.
It's a major thing.
A
Yeah.
couple of years ago, I was standing at the front of the hall when people were coming in on a Saturday, I mean, this is 30 years. I've seen it before, but it it caught my eye. These four um, females came in, and it was from the grandmother to her daughter to her daughter to the little great grand, I guess, and they were dressed to the nines and they were walking in together, and that's when it really hit me about the generations and that this is an outing for the entire family. And so we try to make it as comfortable for everyone, as well as being there. I mean, that we have concessions and food and beverage around, that we have places where people can rest and stop and go from one thing to the next. So I'm glad to hear, and I will tell you, over the years, we have not, I probably can count on one hand the number of people that had, or vendors, exhibitors have complained about being there. Most everyone says they sell out. They, oh my God, I made so much money, or, especially if you know what you're doing. And that's one of the things I think we talked about at that exhibitor meeting, is that you've gotta get out there and talk to people. Don't just sit behind your booth. Make sure that that you engage the people when they come up to your space. All of those things that you would think people would know. Um, but if it's your first time exhibiting or you haven't done that a lot, you can get people to buy and to hear your story, but you've got to be ready to be out front. So I'm glad to hear that your experience was wonderful. Uh, we hear that quite a bit, but not from a first timer. So I'm glad to know.
Yeah, it was. I was very impressed and very happy after I left those 3 days, and I said, "Okay, we'll be back, but we gotta plan bigger for next year." Plus, it's the 30th anniversary, so we have to do it, big ourselves, to meet this demand.
We'll be back in the large hall this August.
Okay.
So, because this is our 30th anniversary, and McCormick wanted to make sure we were back up where we have been since the pandemic, so that we can have even more exhibitors, but even more space, for different, different pavilions, different areas for people to lounge and that kind of thing. So we're putting a lot of thought into it.
Well, that's going to be awesome. You're in that large hall. Oof, that's going to be great. I know that hall.
Yeah, you know that hall.
I know it. I know it
That's an
well.
auto show hall. That's what it is.
Oh,
The auto show
yeah.
hall.
And
Yeah.
do they also have I want to say the marathon expo
Well, that's where
in
they
that
go. Yes,
one.
that's where
Uh,
they go.
yeah, think of
To
America.
pick up their
Yeah,
things, right?
because I used to run the marathons, and I remember going to that hall and I did a vend in that hall one time years ago when I had another
Okay.
business, but anyway, yeah, I did. I was bold, you know. I'm like, I'm gonna go to the big hall.
I
Yeah,
know. Running marathons. I'm impressed.
yeah, oh yeah. Long story. So let's talk a little bit about your personal and career reflection. So, among your numerous accomplishments, what experiences have brought you the greatest joy and fulfillment, both professionally and personally?
Wow. The greatest joy professionally, I think, is wow, just keeping the expo going. And not only that, but because of the expo, it sort of, kick-started our event side. So we've been doing, I mean, you mentioned Association of Black Cardiologists, Chicago Urban League. We just did their Golden Fellowship dinner. South Shore Chamber, the South Shore Summerfest, which we've produced for a number of years. So we've done everything from outdoor festivals to, 2,500 seat galas and expositions and other events around, not only here in Chicago, but around the country. So I believe that, definitely that has been at the forefront of everything that we do is, is being able to, take it to the next level, and people see our work and want us to do their event as well. I mean, there's some things we're not able to, uh, but I think, over the years, uh, we have created that kind of thing where we can do almost anything. At least we want to. We have fun, but we have fun. That's what I want you to know is that we have fun doing what we do, whether it's the festival or gala or, marathon or anything else, outdoor event. We have fun doing what we do. And so I think that keeps us going, I'll be honest with you.
And what about personally, your greatest joy?
Wow. As I mentioned, I've had three sons, and my middle son a couple of years ago, probably about 5 years ago, passed away on my birthday. So I will tell you that's the saddest thing I've ever had to deal with. My birthday's November 9th, and his friends found him deceased in his home in LA on my birthday. I had just spoken to him the night before. He called me to say, I know it's your birthday, have fun, blah, blah, blah. He was the chef. So it's hard to say now, like I tell people my birthday will never be the same. It won't. Um, but when I think about the fact that I kept them together, I was a teen mom, uh, and that they were never in any, you know, crazy trouble. Um, so if you would say my joy, it would be my sons, um, and what they think about what their mom is doing. Um, that gives me a lot of joy. I got a call from one of my youngest son yesterday. Want to know how I was doing in this cold weather. Was make sure his mom was all right, and they're all grown. So um, those kind of things touch my heart. Um, my family. I have sisters. I have one sister and one brother left. There's only three of us. There were six. I'm the middle. My oldest brother. I mean, my youngest brother. He think he's older than me. Uh, has been helping me in my business in the last year because his whole thing was finance and banking. So He's been right there, giving me some advice on things that I didn't probably think about or know enough about. So I think family. It is definitely family. You know, is probably the biggest joy.
That's right. Having that support from them is really incredible, and it
Yeah,
means so much when you're doing things that you love or you're passionate about. You really do need that support from the family. I'm so sad to hear about your son,
yeah.
but I always say, now he's just a special little angel, just always there with you. So that's a beautiful thing. And I want to ask you about your kids and as you were raising them up, what values have you emphasized to your children and maybe still do? I mean, because they're still your kids. You're right. It never
Yeah.
stops. So you're your mom forever. So so what values have you emphasized to them regarding leadership and community involvement?
Um, well, I think more it's about integrity and honesty. That's what they saw in me. That's what they always saw in me. They saw that in my mom. They saw that in our family. I think them knowing that we weren't going to take anything else but that. You can't bring us anything else. And so I think I know my sons look at me that way. I couldn't, I couldn't tell them much about the business or about maybe a little bit about being an entrepreneur, but they're not interested yet. Or unfortunately, neither one of them are interested in transitioning to the Black Women's Expo. So that's not their kind of work. But however, I think if they've watched me over the years, they've watched me work and work and work and work. And they know my commitment. They're not surprised. It could be 10 inches of snow out here on the ground, and they know I'm in the office. They're calling. They say, "You're in the office, aren't you?" Yep. So I think what they've got out of it is that they can do whatever they think and whatever they desire. And they've watched me over the years, so I think I believe that. I believe that. I hope that's true.
Oh, I believe it is true. The kids pick up a lot just from watching their parents, and good and bad. If something is too stressful or anxiety hits a lot, or they're like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to go into that." So I'm sure they picked up
Yeah.
some great nuggets of leadership from you, just watching you. So, looking ahead, what legacy do you hope to leave within the event industry and the Black community? And how do you envision your work influencing future generations?
Well, I wish I could think that far of how it could influence future generations. I wish I could. I don't. I know that it's influencing people right now, um, but I don't think. Yeah, I do know. I know. I mean, I get enough young women that approach me, want to know how to get in this business. How did I make this happen? What kind of advice could I give them? And I do. I'm not one of those that think about it. I love it when people tell me about the legacy or tell me about what they've seen and what they think that I will leave in terms of my legacy. Um, but I know what most people think about, and that is that we've been here forever, that we've stayed the course. So many events and event professionals that I've known over the years, they're no longer even in the business, or their events are no longer around. So the fact that and that's the question I get asked the most is how? How did we keep it so long? How do we keep the expo going so long? How do we get the sponsors and these big brands that will support us so that we can do the expo? And I definitely have the answers for that. As I said earlier, if you don't provide what you say, I mean, if you don't, give them what you have promised, um, and not only for them in terms of the little elements of the pieces that are part of their sponsorship, but the event. I mean, you've got to put that event together. You've got to have those media partners. I mean, when someone asked me years ago, what do you start with? I said, I start with the partners, because I can, have McCormick Place all I want. I better have some media partners I better have some sponsors and supporters. I better have some subcontractors, general services contractors, and AV folks, and I have all of those. And you better keep them going every year, or you can't put this show together. So I start really with making sure that I have my partners. I'm glad I came out of television and radio and print. I actually worked for Gannett Corporation when I was young in Rochester, New York, which is, one of the largest newspaper companies. So I actually worked in print, radio, and television. And so with that, I know that I need to have that media partnership on board because you can't afford to buy that. I can't afford what ABC Center is today. Can't afford that. I'm sure we're not afford the kind of exposure we get, the kind of exposure we get on B103, on iHeart, on WVON, on all the stations that cover us and cover the show. All the black newspapers that our ads are in, from the Crusader and Defender and Austin Voice, and this one is and that one, that make sure that their community knows about the show and what will be provided there.
Yeah, I will just say that you're the event whisperer. Like, that's really what you are. Like, you create an event and that thing lasts forever. Like, I have never seen this is crazy. So, yes, you're the event whisperer. I said that last night. I was like, I was looking at just your career and going over some things. It's like she has been everywhere, like in something, like you have all these great connections, but you're still yet in your lane. You know what I mean? Like you're still in the lane, but to create those events out of what people love to do and out of need. It's like you've tapped into the thing that people love and you give them fun, you give them education, you give them community and all the things that they need so it lasts. So it's just amazing. Yeah, I believe that. So let me ask you, in a rapidly changing world, we talked about that ever-changing world we live in, especially with advancements in technology and the virtual experience. We're in a virtual experience right now. So how do you foresee the future of event planning and what role do you see for Black Women's Expo in this landscape?
It I don't know what the year is going to bring, but I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a great year, this 30th anniversary. Um, I will tell you, there's so many things that we're thinking about because of the 30 and the 30. There's so many things to go back to. If you look at the list of the women, I wish I could bring all of them back, but we will be bringing some of them back. Some of our speakers and entertainers. I mean, there's so many things to be proud of and be thankful for.
Yes, you really do have a lot to be thankful for. And I don't think you have anything to worry about. I mean, 3 decades, you've been going strong. You got through COVID. You will be just fine no matter what the world brings us. We'll
Yeah,
be fine.
thank you, thank you.
Yes. So, reflecting on your career, what's one thing you wish you had known earlier, and how would it have influenced your journey?
That I wish I had known earlier. Wow. On the personal side or the business side, or either one.
You either one.
Well, probably, I mean, if I be honest, that I probably wish that I had tried to have a more balanced life. Um, and I think so many women in my position feel that way. We didn't balance it out. We thought more about, I mean, we had to, about making it, about making our businesses work and survive. And we probably should have spent a little bit more time on the relationships in our lives. And I think, when we get to where we are now, we wouldn't, be so all alone. And there's so many Black women, professional women that are. Uh, how do I know that? When we have a relationship seminar at the Expo, you can't get in the room uh, because that is a big issue in our community. And many of the women that are at the Expo are professional women, are entrepreneurs, are small business owners, and you can see from their participation in that kind of session how important that is to our life. And I think many women have been single moms, having to raise their own children. I think if I could, I think that would be what it would be.
So I have a couple more questions for you. We're almost done. And I want to ask you, for those interested in participating in the 30th anniversary of Black Women's Expo or utilizing your services, what opportunities are available and how can they get involved?
Well, obviously to go to our website, you can get information. It is the BlackWomen'sExpo.com or BWeNEXT.com. We also have an email address that you will get off of that you can send information. Many of our speakers that are local, that want to be a part of the expo, that's how they get involved. They will go to that website. We ask that they send us, their request. If you have a topic, if you're a local doctor that want to talk about a subject, send us your information. Send us why you want to do this, what you want to do. And that, kind of how we get the local community involved. Um, and you will be able to shortly find out about our booths and when they go on sale if you want to vend. And some people take advantage of it. They're part of our main stage for local talent, or we need volunteers always. We have tons of people that sign on to be our volunteers for the weekend. So really going there to our website is the best way to get to us.
Wonderful. And for your last question, Mary, what does success mean to you personally? And how do you hope your legacy will inspire future generations of Black women leaders and entrepreneurs?
Hmm. I think having a great reputation is success to me. The money will come, and maybe it won't. Uh, but the one thing I appreciate is that when I'm out here and about in the city and the community and different events and galas and breakfasts and things, people have a they have a way of letting me know that they appreciate me that way, that they know that our work is good, that they know that I have integrity, that you can't find almost anything negative about us and what we do. Uh, Back in the day, I used to say that the only negative thing about my business is that I don't know how not to be hands-on, and that can be negative or positive, but we're really we really jump in. I would rather that people just step back and let us do it. We have a lot of experience, not only me but the team that works with me, and we have a lot of passion. And we like to see things be successful. We don't feel good when it's not going well. So I think that's definitely what people will see in our legacy. I hope that's what they feel, and that's how you can get involved and get involved early. I mean, reach out to us early too. Some people wait to a few weeks before the expo, and it's probably too late to do anything. So we're taking we're taking information.
Very good. You should take my information.
Now we will have it. I know Chelsea has it.
Good.
Yes. Thank you
All
so much
right.
for all of your time with this. This is great.
Well, listen, thank you too. I mean, it's been an absolute honor having you on the Black Empowerment Hub podcast. Your passion, vision, and legacy you've built with Black Women's Expo through MGPG Events is truly extraordinary. Hearing how you've turned challenges into opportunities and created spaces for Black women is both humbling and inspiring. You've reminded us all of the power of purpose and how one person's dedication can impact generations, because that's what you do. You impact generations.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing your story and your heart with us today.
Appreciate it.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this impactful Black Empowerment Hub podcast episode. If today's conversation resonated with you, please like, share, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. How can you make a difference in your community today, whether through mentorship, supporting local businesses, or creating spaces for others to thrive? Your action matters. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from you on how you're leading change. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll never miss an episode filled with stories of empowerment, innovation, and progress. Remember, our actions today will shape the future we all share. Stay empowered, stay involved, and always remember real change begins with us, within our communities. See you next time.